This episode of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Gohan from Dragon Ball Super, and you are listening to A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live. Excuse me, Gohan, this is more of a narrator type thing. Okay. Just do it more like a, next time on Talk Time Live. Next time on Talk Time Live. Don't quit your day job, Gohan.
It's time. Talk time. Let's go. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time live. Started in the 80s with Matt Cross. Dudes in the hood might have called that soft, but I carried that cross like Jesus did. Fast forward, I teach the kids to learn how to let go, live life, and show love to all things that don't matter where y'all from. And luckily, there's a show called Talk Time. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Dax kicks the facts on all the geek news, special guests and unbiased reviews. Suburban kids, the hipster street dudes, all can learn something new. Me too. I heard words when no faith is empty. I stayed the course, so my haters tempt me. Beat the podcast, that'll make them envy. It ain't too trendy, it's A.C.M.G. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time live.
Everybody, Happy New Year and welcome to the first Talk Time Live of 2021. I am your host, Xavier Josiah. I hope everybody had a great and safe New Year's holiday and holiday season as well. It's been taxing for us, as we all know, but we finally made it. Be real, congratulations, and I'm happy that a lot of people have made it out in any form or fashion, and thoughts and prayers to anybody who has not, and the families and friends of anybody who has gone through a lot this year. Last year, I should say. It is a brand new year. Hopefully, with it being a brand new year, that we also have brand new hope, brand new positivity, and we move forward to a greater, more successful year. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take some time. Everything that we want to happen is not going to happen in a flash, but we work together. We do this right. We stop being spoiled and entitled and really, work together and work hard. It can happen easily, just as easily as it is to, wreck everything and be reckless towards everything. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm also here to talk about the best of 2020. There was some good that came out of 2020, some good that allowed us to keep our sanity, to keep some type of normalcy, to keep us calm and collective while quarantined. And we're here to celebrate that more than ever. We do this every year. This is no different, but this is the most significant of any year that we ever got a chance to do this. And we're going to check that out in our talk topic today. So we're going to go over the best of 2020, which is something that I do every year with our A.C.M.G. Facebook group. So all of the results from this will be based on the votes from members of A.C.M.G., the Facebook group. And if you want to be a member of the A.C.M.G. Facebook group, all you got to do is have a legit profile, a profile that you use on a regular basis, a profile that you use as yourself. Introverts, you are welcome, but you have to show your true self. You have to show that you are interactive and you want to have fun. You want to meet new friends and you want to enjoy the same things that they do. What's the harm in that? Think about that. And if you want to do so, you go to facebook.com/groups/ACMG1. Go there and trust me when I tell you, we provide content, we provide a feel and a vibe that no other Facebook group has. We are the Wakandas. We don't let everybody in. It's all about quality over quantity here at A.C.M.G. And trust me when I tell you, we're going to talk about why. But before we do that, before we get down to it, I do have to give my annual thank yous for a lot. And even before we do that, I got to talk about the most craziest 24 hours I had involving Apple. And I'm going to praise Apple right now. I'm going to give them free endorsement as if they needed it all, because it's Apple. Apple is the same amount of quality that you would see from Disney. And if anybody's ever been to Disney World or Disneyland, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The best customer service followed by the best quality and the best investment I can ever have. Aside from, I won't go, my limit to Apple is, my PC. I feel like, as great as their, PC, their, Macs are and their Gs, whatever, version of their computers that they have, I still am PC for life. But in terms of tablets and smart technology, I can't go wrong with the iPhone, the iPad, the Apple Watch. I can't go wrong. But their customer service is tremendous, and I tell you why. It all has to do with my stupid ass doing something ridiculously stupid. I totally went off guard here. I'm normally so... maybe this is me getting old. I don't know. What the hell? But I'm usually so on point when it comes to keeping things mint condition and doing things. And I've owned iPads for years and always kept them in great quality, kept them in mint condition, always made sure I had it by my side all the time. Like the American Express, don't leave home without it, stuff like that. So even if it's by my side, it never happens. So my wife and I went out yesterday so she could get a few things from Barnes & Noble, and, we could hang out and just get out. We haven't gotten out in quite a while. It was a pretty nice day, fair day. And here in Philadelphia, and we managed to, get out and stuff like that. I brought my iPad with me because a lot of times my wife tends to take a long time. Plus, the black in me wanted to make sure that, that's a whole nother discussion. But I brought my iPad with me just to assure that I wouldn't be totally bored from being at Barnes & Noble. First of all, I haven't been in a bookstore in God knows how long because I get everything digital. The second reason is just if anybody tries to even come at me wrong, I have some recording material. I have some things that I can feel, a little bit secure. Because I'm not gonna lie, since 2020 happened and everything happened, I have a slight bit of concern when going out to the streets and, wondering how things are, because you never know. These incidents keep happening still, and things happen. So I bring my iPad with me just in case. And, it was all good. We went to Barnes & Noble's, went there, got a few things, got some really interesting, cool things like this Marvel cookbook that I'll be talking about in the near future. But that was a pretty cool thing. So we got that, and she got her planner and all this stuff. And we got a few other trinkets from over there. So then we went out to South Street. If you're from Philly, South Street. It's regardless of what it is now, it is still the spot. And thank goodness Lorenzo's is still around there. Lorenzo's, for those who don't know, there's always talk about Pat's Steaks and Jim Steaks and Geno's and all that stuff. And to be honest, if you're from Philly, we consider all that overrated. There are much better steak places to go than Jim's and Geno's and Pat's. Shout out to Iskabibble. Shout out to Larry's Steaks and St. Joseph University out there. There are better places to have cheesesteaks out there. Way, way better. Those are the heavily marketed, touristy spots that everybody recommends. If you watch Shazam, it's on there, and I hate it. But I digress. We went down to Lorenzo's. Lorenzo's is significantly and legendary known for having the best pizza in terms of just a simple slice, which is ginormous. It's this huge slice of pizza. And not only that, it's just a cheese pizza. I normally don't get cheese pizza from anywhere. I know I'm going to get to my point sooner or later, but I got to lead on. I got to get to the lead. But it's an insanely huge pizza. If you like type in, if you Google like Philly Lorenzo's pizza, you'll see how huge this pizza is. It's ginormous. Just a slice. You only need a slice. It's just, one slice is damn near equivalent to like 3/4 of a small pizza. But their sauce and everything is just awesome. So we shout out to my man T, because he took a picture on Facebook of his kid actually eating that pizza, which kind of led us to this situation now. So, still got my iPad with me. We got the pizza. We went out, decided, we got to the car, decided we take a selfie, just to share, with friends on Facebook. Did that. All right, cool. Got my phone. Somehow forgot my iPad, which was just happened to be on top of the car. So I think at this point, you don't need a crystal ball to predict the obvious as to what happened there. We got into the car. We drove off. We got home about like 7 minutes for us to get home from South Street. And at that point in time, the minute that we parked and stopped, and I looked, and I'm like, wait, where's my iPad? And lo and behold, we checked the car, it was not there, it was not anywhere. So thank goodness I used my smart tech, thoroughly, and I used Find My iPhone. We detected that of all places, it was like in the Schuylkill River, some like 1 mile from us. So we ended up driving back. It was still in that area. It didn't seem like it was being taken away. But my thought was it was on top of the car. We drove away. There's no magnet that's going to, strong enough that's going to stick to the top of the car. So chances are it was on the top I'm surprised it lasted that long on top of the car, because we were from South Street. That was like at least damn near half a mile of driving. And it landed over the bridge in University City where we just entered. So we managed to get back. And the last place that it was detected, it was near the bridge of the Schuylkill River. And it just so happened, I got out of the car. I started tracking it down using finding my iPhone app. Found it. Unfortunately, I found it. But I found it. Ran over by possibly dozens of cars within the last 7 minutes of it being there. Now, take note, also connected with it was my Apple Pencil, so that was also missing too. But the good news is I found it. It was there. Unfortunately, it was absolutely, utterly destroyed. And even worse, I didn't have Apple Care, because normally I normally don't. I've owned, like I said, I still have my old iPad. My 12-inch that I've had before I went to the new Pro. Mint condition. I had the other ones that's still in great shape, but because normally they usually be in a bag. I don't normally carry it in my hand all the time like I normally do, like I did yesterday. So this one was destroyed, and we needed to get a brand new one. My wife is going to be the hero of this. In so many ways. So we managed to, it was like 2 hours till they like closed. And so we drove right back down to the Apple Store. I haven't been to the Apple Store since pre-COVID, when it was still like a club scene in there. That is all changed now. Not only do you have to get in a line to get in there, you have to get reservations to get in there. It's that deep. But all we wanted to do was just go in there and buy something, and they almost didn't let us in. I had to call Apple to try to get a reservation, see if I could get one out, because I was at the store when I called them. They couldn't get me in. Apple Care couldn't get me in. So the last resort was one of the staff who was out there with the guards that was getting people in. My wife was like eyeing her the whole entire time because she was talking to a guy. The minute that she stopped talking to the guy and I gave up, talking to them, she walked over there, took the initiative, took assertiveness, like a boss, like the boss that she is. She is the owner of her own proprietor and entrepreneur of her own business. She took the initiative like a boss and talked to the woman. I luckily had the damaged iPad with me. So she got to see exactly what the hell went on. And we explained to her that all we want to do is buy a brand new one. It's an in and out type of thing. She nicely, even though the guards had to do their job and say that we couldn't get in, she nicely contacted the staff inside, let them know that we just wanted to replace everything, the keyboard, the pencil and everything. And we're purchasing because I think everybody else that was in line was, there for Apple Care services or some type of repair service or whatever like that. Nah, we want to give you money. So by the grace of goodness and the assertiveness of my wife to take the initiative to go there and talk to her, and I'm seeing that, showing her the actual damaged iPad, we were able to get in. And boom, we got a brand new iPad, new Apple Pencil, and the keyboard all set. And I got the brand new iPad with the new camera and the mics and everything. So, oh my goodness, what a day! That pizza, that Barnes and Noble strip cost $1,500 for God's sake. Oh my goodness. But honestly, it was, I'm just glad we were able to do it because, I used my iPad for, doing the show, for other things, for designing and everything like that. So it was very vital that, I get this ASAP, and thank goodness we got it all taken care of. So thank you to Apple and Walnut Street for, pushing on, because it was a rarity. It was a rarity there for that to happen. Thank the guards, everybody that went on to that. So it was just what a way to start off 2021. And I hope that is not an indication of any more craziness happening. I hope that's the craziest thing that happened this year, as far as that. So thank you guys for that. And I'll tell you, because we don't need another 2020. If I want anything out of 2020, it is the great things that has happened on this show. Segueing into that, I also want to thank a lot of people involved in the process of what happened last year for Talk Time Live. As you know, 2020 hit, and what originally was supposed to happen did not happen. And what originally was supposed to happen, for those who don't know or the listeners who are new to this, I was supposed to be hosting some more panels for Read Pop for their comic convention here in Philadelphia called Keystone Comic Con. And for the first time ever, New York Comic Con, which is like the big one, the second biggest or equally biggest event of the year to that of San Diego Comic Con. And I was so close to finally getting my first time at, NYCC. And not only that, not only it being my first time, but also hosting a panel at that event. It was about to pop off in the biggest way for Talk Time Live and A.C.M.G. And unfortunately, due to the pandemic and COVID virus, of course, that did not happen. Everything got canceled, and it was just crazy. So how the hell was I going to top what I did last year, hosting the Art of Street Fighter panel with Longvo and Chamba, followed by the Voices of Overwatch panel with Fred Tatasciore and Charlotte Chung, which was absolutely a huge milestone event of 2019, bar none. Possibly one of the biggest things to happen for A.C.M.G. Possibly since the nomination for Philly Geek Award. Absolutely one of the biggest milestones to date. And how would I top this? Well, some way in the worst year in history, Talk Time Live has managed to do that by having the biggest amount of guests in any year that this brand has actually had. More interviews than any other year of TTL. And I gotta say, without a doubt, I gotta give major thanks to the guests, and I'm gonna name it all in the list of all the people that have come this year, starting with Jeffrey Thorne, who came in last year. Jeffrey Thorne, the showrunner for Avengers Black Panther's Quest, and I believe the executive producer of the Power spinoff Ghost, starring Method Man and Mary J. Blige. He ended up handling that project, and I heard great things. I'm about to watch the entire series and binge watch that. Professor Antoine Foreman, who came on to talk about the entrepreneur. He was the professor of entrepreneurship and he in marketing, and we talked about the video game industry in terms of their marketing and process. the loot crate systems and all that jazz. So we got it down to talking about that. Rebecca Ryan, aka Foxy Roxy Cosplay, who normally is one of the major winners of San Diego Comic-Con and a lot of comic book conventions for cosplaying and craftsmanship. She is just absolutely awesome. Been waiting to talk to her for quite some time, and she was awesome on the show. Matt Bozen of Way Forward, talking to him about Shantae and the Seven Sirens, which came out, which was an awesome game. Great Cassavan, the writer and game developer of the award-winning Hades, the much talked about Hades game that came out last year. It was awesome. Ben Fiquet, the art director of Streets of Rage 4, it was awesome to talk to him all the way from Paris, France. It was just awesome. I hope for him the best. And he was also nominated for a Game Award for that as well. His Lizard Q Games and everybody involved in that as well. My man Mega Ran, the voice and recording artist of the show, came on to talk about everything that he was going through during COVID and everything that he's doing now. He kept it going through the COVID era. It didn't hurt him, but so much out there. My man, the Chamba I should say, who was my guest at the Art of Street Fighter panel, my very first live panel ever. Capcom Udon artist, got a chance to talk to him all the way from Australia. Cal Habert wasn't on the show this year, been on the show like 3 times, but he looked out for me and gave me the really cool liner as he was voicing the voice of Gohan and the narrator, topping the last 3. He's done 3 liners for me. No, 4 now liners for me. He's done one for when I did the Omega Fist tournament. He's done one as Ryu. He's done one as the narrator. That was the first one I ever did. But now he topped this one. I love the liner that he did. So thank you, Kyle Hebert, for that as well. Chris Battle, Teen Titans Go character designer, came on earlier this year to talk about his new Marvel lineup, which I got the t-shirt with from Spider-Man from him. If you look at any of the advertisements or the promos that I do on Instagram at @Xavier_Josiah, or even on the A.C.M.G Facebook group, you always see that picture of me rocking his Spider-Man shirt. Awesome guy. He's been on twice, and I can't be grateful enough to have him on. The biggest group of guests that I have had this year, bar none though, comes in the form of the cast of Naruto Shippuden. This one is just without a doubt it equals the live panel that I had, the virtual Q&A, my very first virtual Q&A panel that I've ever done. And it was crazy because I was, working with the RDC World crew and, Molly and Lisa, her manager and partner. And love those two. Absolutely love those two. Not only just for being good friends, but for giving me opportunities that they have and having faith in me and, and supporting me of everything that I've done. It's because of them that I was able to host that show with not the entire cast of Naruto Shippuden, but some of the well-known elite actors on that show. For instance, Quentin Flynn, who was on there, Tony Oliver, Brian Donovan, who we actually I got to interview him even after that on a exclusive. Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, who is awesome. She was the actor director of Naruto Shippuden. She's also Syrian on Mortal Kombat 11 and just plenty more projects. The one and only Steve Bloom. I got a chance to talk with Steve Bloom on this. This was awesome. He is also awesome. He is also engaged to marry Elizabeth McGlynn as well, and those two are just fantastic. Also, this one right here, Tara Platt, who plays Tabari on Naruto, but also is Yuri Watanabe on Spider-Man, along with her husband, Yuri Lowenthal, the one and only Sasuke Uchiha, a.k.a. Peter Parker Spider-Man. And the Marvel's Spider-Man video game. Been so dying to have all of those people in all in one pot is just amazing. Along with my former previous guest, and I got a chance to talk with him again, Tom Givens, Shikamaru Naru, awesome guy. He's just such a great guy. If you got a chance to hear the interview I had with him, I've had an exclusive with him, and then I got a chance to talk with him again on the panel. Just terrific. And then, last but certainly not least, my great friend Molly Flanagan, aka Naruto, aka the co-star of a brand new ABC comedy pilot that will be coming out soon, and I'm looking forward to checking that out. Molly Flanagan, since we met, which, by the way, I think it's been like 4 years, because we met right around the time when Trump was elected, and we connected since then, and we vibed since then. She let me into her world. It's just been an awesome ride. She's given me so much. Ooh, excuse me. Oh, jeez. I'm sorry. She's given me so much in terms of, just opportunity, friendship, guidance, support. I swear to goodness, the Hokage is legit. She is just, not only just the iconic voice of one of the legendary anime characters of all time, but outside of that, she is legendary. One of the most best people in my world right now. And I just couldn't thank him enough. And it just a special thanks to a lot of people. And, I mentioned Lisa Hammett, her manager and partner. Molly, great thanks to both of them. They both have looked out for me so much, not just this year, but prior years too. As far as, working with them for my company and brand, we working together for promotional things. I also work with Yuri and Tara as well. And Danielle Kennedy as well. You've seen her in a lot of shows, especially in ABC and in NBC shows as well. So I just getting a chance to get to know her, meeting all her people in her circle and everything. It's just been awesome. Shout out to Megarand for, just being all supportive. If I need something, he's there. I could just text him away. He's there. Podbean. Shout out to Podbean, who, houses Talk Time Live, and they promoted us this year and, highlighted us this year. We got a lot more listeners and subscribers this year because of them, so thank them. RDC World for having their DreamCon event, and which led to me being a part of that and being a part of the actual Q&A for that. And that was just one of the Talk Time Live highlights of the show. I just absolutely love it. So thank those brothers. Those guys always do some really cool, fun, entertaining things out there. Definitely go out of your way to check out RDC World out there. And gotta give some love to my colleague and friend, my college friend from back in the day, Kimberly Lewis, who is somebody that I've known. Like, we've went to college together. We actually technically used to live together. Like, her ex-boyfriend and a whole bunch of our other old friends all stayed in my house, which I rented out to them, way back in the 2000s, in the early 2000s. After my mom passed away, we just, started leasing, subletting, rooms and everything to them. And we all been connected since. And she has moved on to do some really great things, working with NBC and doing a lot of great things for them. And she's worked with me on certain things for, A.C.M.G. If you watch any of the openings of my exclusive, she did the openings for that. So that was pretty cool. She 3D'd my Talk Time Live logo and such. So, she's just been awesome. Whenever she can come in, it's just been great. But last but definitely not least, my big, major thanks to Tasha and Landon Jennings of Benchmark Outdoors. Tasha Jennings is a member of the A.C.M.G Facebook group, and her and her husband own a few, promotional billboards in the Texas area. And when one of the biggest losses that we had in 2020, the one that hit people extremely hard, I think, as a wrestling fan, Brody Lee was a big hard hitter for wrestling fans, because it was very similar to this one. It was way young, and it's just out of nowhere. Chadwick Boseman, for pop cultural fans, from mainstream pop culture, that was a unexpectedly huge hit. And I think that one it really made a difference as to what big of a deal it was for 2020 in terms of loss. That was huge. And we at A.C.M.G. I always do tributes like this, unfortunately, but I did. And when I did the tribute graphic for it, Tasha absolutely loved what I've done, and in turn wanted to do something in return, not only just for A.C.M.G., but to honor Chadwick Boseman because of the impact that we had, that he has had on us. She offered for me to create a graphic that optimizes on a billboard, and not only just one billboard, like at least 4 or 5 billboards or something of that nature in Texas. And it's awesome. She actually got a chance to take a picture of it, and it just moved me because never in my dreams have I thought that I would have and honestly, I did think of having a billboard. So as some form of fashion, I didn't think it would ever happen, and it happened. And I couldn't have found a better reason to do it, but to have it in honor of Chadwick Boseman. And I can't thank neither of them too enough. And with anything that I can tell you, 2020 has taught us, and it is proof from this actions, is that people of all creeds, colors, philosophies, politics can actually come together to do something special. And that something special was A.C.M.G. and it was Talk Time Live. People of every facets of cultures and orientations all coming together, colors, races, all that coming together to create something special. And if it could happen here, it could definitely happen here. So let's make that happen in 2021. Shout out especially to all of the listeners, supporters, voters, and members of all things anime, comics, movies, games for helping make 2020 definitely a year to remember. Not just the negative stuff, but the positive stuff as well. And we will keep it going till I can't. Okay? And even if I can't, I need you guys to keep it going. So let's just definitely make it happen. It's now or never, now and forever. And we've proven that we can do it. So that will do it for this course of the show. We're going to take a break, come back. And when we do, we're going to talk the best of 2020 winners and the results based on the votes of the A.C.M.G. Facebook group. We're going to do that right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dak Xavier Josiah, the host of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the podcast. You want to catch up with all of our podcast shows and hear from some of the hottest names in all of anime, comics, movies, and games, such as...
This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto.
This is Stephanie Shea, the voice of Sailor Moon.
This is Ruben Langdon, voice of Ken Masters and Dante from Devil May Cry.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Ryu from Street Fighter V.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go.
Here's your chance to check out all of that and more on TalkTimeLive.com. TalkTimeLive.com provides all of our A.C.M.G. content with new and previous episodes, exclusive interviews, articles, and much more. Visit TalkTimeLive.com and let us help you learn to let go, live life, and love all things A.C.M.G.
Talk Time Live.
This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto, and you are listening to A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live. Believe it!
Do it.
And now it's time for our talk topic of the week. Ready? Fight!
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our talk topic of the week, and it is our best of 2020 votes, our highlight show that we do every year where our A.C.M.G. members get a chance to vote on what they felt was the best of in terms of anime, comics, movies, games, and other forms of fandom as well. So this year alone, we cover all those, our 4 favorite fandoms, I should say, but also other categories as well, such as a new category this year, Best Streaming Network. I don't believe that I've done this before in prior years, but streaming networks have been a significant form of entertainment this year because everybody's quarantined and they need to watch something that will keep them, sane, if you will. It's a great between this streaming networks and gaming. I think that they have been the biggest forms of entertainment this year for our COVID era, to keep us in because, we're not in theaters anymore, or nor we should. And some theaters are open, but the majority of the country, if not the world, are quarantined in. And, now we're getting shutdowns again. So this is hurting movie theaters even more. With that said, a lot of the movies that were supposed to come out this year have now resorted to streaming networks. We just saw Wonder Woman 84. We just talked about that, and that was one of the first of many WB movies that will be appearing on HBO Max. We also have Mulan and other, exclusive movies like Soul that was supposed to be in theaters, and now they're going straight to the streaming networks to watch. So that is going to be a thing. And then we also got all the Marvel content that is coming soon this January. So that means WandaVision is going to be coming out, and then shortly after, a whole bunch of other movies that are going to be coming out, or TV shows going to be coming out soon too. And we'll see if they're going to be putting out Black Widow in theaters or Disney Plus. They're looking for August or something of that nature for that, and then Spider-Man's coming out in December. So we'll see whether we're going to get the vaccines all in, and there's some complications with that too. So, but streaming networks have been a big force in terms of our entertainment this year. So we got that as a category as well. We also have live action TV series. So there's 7 different categories this year that we're going to be talking about that our A.C.M.G members have voted. So of course we're going to go on the order based upon our brand. So we're going to start with anime this year. And there was a lot of anime that came out in 2020, despite the fact that COVID hit. And if you guys have even gotten a chance to check out the Naruto panel that I mentioned, if you haven't, if you're new to the show, I highly recommend you go into TalkTimeLive.com or you go into your streaming networks. You should be able to find it. It was around July. I do have it on TalkTimeLive.com. It's funny. I don't think I have the video version on Talk Time Live, and if that's not the case, I'm going to post the video version of the live Q&A that we had during the summer involving the cast of Naruto Shippuden. So if you're a Naruto fan, get ready. We're gonna look out for you and make sure it's up there. But in that panel, in that Q&A panel that I hosted, one of the conversations that we had was how the actors are able to do voice acting while not in the studios, and a lot of them have what is called closet studios. Some of them are literal, like literally, they're in a closet doing voiceovers because they need sounds. It's a known thing. If you're an actor or if you know about voice acting and stuff, it's a known thing. They actually do voiceovers in closets, and then to some extent, and I say in the case of Steve Bloom, he actually does have a studio that he's calling his closet studio as well. And it's awesome. He actually showed a picture of it at the Naruto panel as well. Who else has that? I believe Tony Oliver has also had a studio built by his wife, as he explained on the in the Q&A. So it's just awesome ways that they're being able to innovate their way to doing voice quality. So if you own Funimation, if you own the Funimation app and you're listening to any of the new shows that are out right now, 9 chances out of 10, they're doing it, and these guys are consummate professionals. And if it doesn't sound like it, you can't even tell sometimes that they're actually doing their voices from a closet. Steve Bloom even does it better. He was doing motion capture in his house, in his home, in his studio, while a producer apparently was out front at his, they were totally doing it COVID safe and, doing COVID, restrictions and everything and going in code for health purposes. But they were able to do motion capture at his house. The producer had a set. They're all in California, by the way. So this is how this is being able to happen. And, he was able to do this. So, I mean, like you'll hear all that in the Naruto panel, but it was a lot going on for this year. So a lot of them had to go about it in a different way. Do things differently than they never had a chance to do. And I would dare say, if anybody was more successful when it comes to acting, voice actors stayed in business this entire time in COVID, because of the ability to do what they can do at home and still make it sound absolute excellent quality. You can't even tell in this case. So kudos to all of them because they kept us entertained with a lot of great anime this year, especially Funimation. But the votes, there was a lot of votes that was coming in this year, but the biggest vote that came in for anime that was voted on by the members of A.C.M.G. was, in fact, My Hero Academia. And I totally understand that why. I totally respect that vote. And it was one of my votes as well. They got to vote for multiple votes as well, but the majority went into My Hero Academia. I mean, why not? During the course of COVID, they had a new season. They came out, followed by they had a new game in One is Justice 2 that also came out, and it also included the English cast there as well. So you add that marketing momentum to that, and then followed by you had Two Heroes, which was the follow-up, movie to their, that came out this year as well. I believe it came out rather before COVID, or no, it came out during COVID, right at the beginning of COVID, if I'm correct. And they were still not shutting down all the theaters, but it was only playing in select theaters at best. So, like, it just released on digital quite just recently. And you didn't get a chance to see it, but I got a chance to see it and review it. I loved it. And, to those who did get a chance to see it, I understand why My Hero Academia is not only the torchbearer of shows like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z and Bleach, but it deserves to be at this level now because it is getting better and better every single time. So I respect that answer. I respect all the votes, whether I'll vote on them or not. But it's been an awesome ride for My Hero Academia. So I'm looking forward to that new season when it finally arrives on Funimation as well. So next category is Best U.S. Animated Series. There were a lot of great U.S. animated series, and this ranges from kid to adult animated series as well. So this was, Family Guy was in there. Duncanville was also in there as well. Bob's Burger, all that. But you had also other TV shows as well in that category that you see in normal Saturday morning Cartoon Network or whatever like that, Archer on FX and stuff like that. But, and I knew this was going to happen because this was their final season. They went out with a bang from what I heard. I'm now rewatching this show mostly because of The Mandalorian. So you know where I'm getting at with this. The fans voted for Best U.S. Animated Series, Star Wars, Clone Wars. Especially because of the final season, I heard was so great. People loved it. I watched Clone Wars when it first came out. And this is how I discovered that I'm not a hardcore Star Wars fan. As much as I would like to be, I'm more of a casual fan. And I think a lot of it had a lot to do with the inconsistency with the universe, with the narrative that they had over the years, with the episodes 1, 2, and 3, which didn't click for a lot of people. So it kind of turned people away during that time. But, Star Wars Clone Wars played a big factor in this. And a lot of it had to do with their director, who also I forget. I got to get his name too, because he not only was a major factor in the series, but he was also a major factor in the actual Mandalorian show as well. So Dave Filoni, he's the one that was spearheading the entire thing with, for what I hear, with Clone Wars, in terms of writing and directing, I believe. So he plays he's the one that drove this here, and then he continued off by creating one of the best episodes of The Mandalorian that they ever had to date. When they had Asuka Tano in there. So man, I understand why. So now I'm rewatching it because when I watched it, it was a very slow paced series, and a lot of it they kind of went away with just focusing on Anakin and Obi-Wan and Asuka, and it was mostly episodes about the clones themselves, which to me was like, okay, for me it was kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of boring, but there's a lot of story development slowly leading into Anakin becoming, Darth, and turning into the dark side. Darth Maul finally came in, which then turned things up as well. But then other lead-ins started coming in as well. So they really turned it up majorly. So I respect the vote that the A.C.M.G members had for that one. It was no denying. I mean, I've heard it many a times over the course of the last few years that things were getting much better for that series, and Star Wars fans were not disappointed in that. So I totally understand. It was an overwhelming amount of votes that went for that. Best comic book and manga. It was funny too, because this category, I added manga to it because it is still a comic, albeit in Japan, and it was almost a two-shot for My Hero Academia. And it wasn't until the very end that a few more votes came in, and the results are now here. The winner for Best Comic Manga this year goes to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've heard a lot of buzz about the recent stories and sagas of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and including a lot of it has to do with the latest or newest member of the group, Jenny, aka Jenica, who the story with this, and I'm interested in. First of all, the artwork and the art style for the Turtles is outstanding. And forgive me because I don't know the artist's name, but I'm intrigued, especially between the addition of Jenica and then the art style itself. I'm opted to really jump back into the series to read. And I want to start right for where Jenica came in, because I know enough about the Turtles, story and sagas and narrative, enough to know what's going on. So I can start right there, but I don't know enough about Jenica. And I do know that she was human, and she had a blood transfusion because she was brutally, like almost at a brink of death, and Donatello had somehow made it that she could have a blood transfusion to transfuse their mutated blood into her, which then turned her into a turtle. So she's not the first female turtle ever, because when Saban had that really ridiculous series out, there was a female character named Venus de Malo, so they were kind of ahead of the game during the time. But this character, Jenica, is said to be a really, really cool character, and that I understand. Plus the stories of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when I used to read the reviews on IGN and stuff like that, it was highly praised, a lot. So, and when I looked up a lot of other categories, when I started, listing off the categories for people to vote for, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came up an awful lot. So I totally understand. But My Hero Academia almost won this category as well for manga. And for those who are confused about that, yes, every anime is usually based on a manga or a graphic novel that has come out before. So it has My Hero Academia. All of those have the right to be on this list, especially if they're ongoing as well. So that's why manga is on there. So kudos to them, and it left me to want to check out Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles indefinite. But I'm definitely going to start out with the Jenica saga. So we're moving on to a very interesting year for movies, and we're going to talk best movies here. Like I said, I think, if we could say that games and streaming networks were probably the biggest grossing this year because of COVID, and they definitely, took advantage of the COVID situation. I think in its opposite sense, movie theaters are the biggest failures for COVID, because they require an audience to enjoy everything that has happened. So they've taken a big fall, and some theaters actually had to shut down. Remember, if you listen to the show for years on end, you know that I live blocks away, a walk away from a theater, the Cinemark. That Cinemark has not been open since. And I don't know what in the Hades is going to happen to that actual theater. It's sad. And when I talk about it, and I also mentioned, what was the last movie you saw live? A lot of people who didn't want to take the risk to go during COVID never went. And the last thing, I think the last movie that people possibly could have seen was the winner of this year. And this, I will say this, the winner of this year, I think won by default and by significance. I am totally okay with this vote. I voted for this myself. But I think if had this not been a quarantine COVID era, this might not have won. I think there were a lot of great movies that were scheduled to come out in theaters that didn't, and it was affected, and it was postponed to next year, and it was heavily affected. And it is unfortunate. But with that said, this movie was not only best movie of the year for the A.C.M.G fans, but I would even add on a big surprise for people. Ladies and gentlemen, best movie of 2020, voted by the members of A.C.M.G, is none other than Sonic the Hedgehog. You know, I was expecting some blowback when I posted the results of this, because, you know, where there's all the people that is voted, there are also people who normally don't vote. And then sometimes they don't see that there's a voting. And when they see this, they sometimes get pissed off. And then you got to you got to clap back at them and say, like, well, dude, if you didn't vote, that's whose fault is that? There was no debate, no blowback about this decision. And I think a lot of it is because nobody thought that this movie was going to be as good as it was, as it turned out to be. A lot of it has to do, I believe, with thank goodness, the change in the character design for Sonic. You know, they got the artist who did Sonic Mania to come in, and he created a beautiful Sonic, a beautiful, realistic Sonic, CGI Sonic in this movie. And I think that played the factor as the people going to see this movie. And it was the last movie that I saw. I can tell you, it was the last movie that I saw in theaters that was packed, full of, you know, people, kids and their families that were watching it and enjoying it. It was so damn good. And the known thing for movies based on video games is that they normally don't come out good. There's a small select few movies that have made it that you can even remember off the top of your head, and whenever somebody thinks video game movies that were successful, they automatically go to Mortal Kombat, the original Mortal Kombat movie. It's going to be interesting because the other one is coming, I think, in March, so they still got a lot of shoes to fill with that. We'll see if that's going to be any good. But we don't really... Arguably, people will say the Resident Evil series. I think that's a minority of people. The movies, there's a cult following, and I would say to that is, I think people literally settled for the idea, because that movie did not really go by the fanfare of what Resident Evil was about. They had it was another version of Resident Evil that just happened to work because people just liked the story, and just like even if it didn't really totally matched up to what was going on in the real original, story. Like, if you look at the movie and you look at the video game of Resident Evil, there's a big contrast between the two. And when you look at, and now they're doing the same thing with Monster Hunter to an extent, and I think people at this point are just tired. Monster Hunter came out to astronomically negative reviews. I mean, nobody and I think a lot of that, I think the fault is the decision to only put it out in theaters during the heavy shutdown of COVID right now. I don't know what they were thinking, but the movie just did not look good at all anyway. But you have Sonic. Sega's one of the things that is keeping Sega alive is Sonic and Yakuza. Sonic the Hedgehog has been their marquee character, their biggest brand, the brand that is only rivaled Mario, and the one that is still staying alive after all these years. This movie, nobody thought it was going to be this good. the movie was not only good in terms of story and character development, but everything made sense to how the game worked, and everything and here's the other thing too that I loved about this movie, because I'll compare this to two movies that were just like it. The plot is not, there's no nuance into the plot. It is every bit as formulaic as movies that you've seen, like the Smurfs, the first two Smurf movies, and they're going way back to the He-Man movie. What they all have in common is you had this story and narrative where you got all these characters, these marquee characters that are coming from their own universe, and they're coming to Earth. And I don't understand why that formulaic storytelling is a good idea. It normally does not work. I liked He-Man for what it was worth when Dolph Lundgren did it way back then. But then the Smurfs did it, and it didn't work for me. Like, the Smurfs and Gargamel coming to New York. New York's always the center point of this, and it always pissed me off. And I'm glad they didn't do that with Sonic. But it normally doesn't work out. It doesn't work when you add these fictional characters to reality. They did it here and somehow made it successful in a way that everything that you know about the game, they made sense of it in this movie. And then on top of that, and I think this was a really big deal, and I remember talking with our A.C.M.G members about this as well, and they also said the same thing. Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is by far the MVP. And James Marsden is in this too, and a lot of great characters. A great cast, I should say, is in this movie. With every great protagonist, you got to have an even greater antagonist. Jim Carrey as Dr. Eggman, a.k.a. Dr. Robotnik. I don't know how he got the inspiration to come up with this version of Robotnik like he did. But he did exactly what he did for Batman, Batman Forever, that he did when he played the Joker. And the Joker was the best part of the reason, not the Joker, the Riddler, I should say. He played the Riddler in Batman Forever, and he was the best thing to happen. It was the best thing about that movie. It was unanimously agreed that he was the best thing, because Val Kilmer did that movie, and it's like Val Kilmer was not the focus that everybody was checking out on in that Batman movie. It was Jim Carrey's portrayal of the Riddler, which was a very Adam West like modern take of it. But he was the highlight of that movie. But if you take Jim Carrey away from that movie would have sucked. Here, you had a great cast with a great logical narrative, with everything that's making sense in matching up to what's going on in the actual video game world. And he actually showed the video game world in the first few minutes of the movie, which was awesome as well. So that exists, and other movies like that will act like that didn't exist, or they wouldn't have the cojones to actually make that world exist in a movie form and bring it to life. No, they did, but they also blended in with the real world as well. So it all exists in the world. So it was okay to be able to go out into the real world to make it happen, because they made it exist, and then make sense out, and then made sense of it even at that. But Jim Carrey's role as Robotnik really brought it home, and you add all those elements combined, and you had a very fun entertainment movie. I watched that movie so many times. It was digital worthy for me. I enjoyed that movie so much. The character who played Sonic was the actor who played Sonic was great, which is the same actor I believe he played in a lot of other Sonic projects as well. I think he was. I don't think he was. I think it was a totally new guy. Regardless, tremendous. It was. We normally have also the surprise of 2020. I would also add a subcategory winner as the surprise of 2020. But like I said, I think it won by default, because a lot of blockbusters that was supposed to come out this year did not come out. I believe Black Widow was definitely one of them, and who knows, Black Widow could possibly have been the winner had that come out this year. The Eternals, I don't know if the Eternals was supposed to come out this year. I have reason to believe it was supposed to, or something to that nature. That didn't come out this year. A lot of other movies got postponed to next year. Tenet, I'm surprised that didn't get it as well. We also had The Five Bloods. We had some Netflix movies that came out this year. But for some reason, and you got to understand, our target audience at A.C.M.G. are fans of anime, comics, movies, and games. I mean, that's just it. I mean, so when they got to see something that they enjoyed, and our demographic is in a range of maybe 20 to 45 maybe, and you got people who grew up with Sonic, and to see that Sonic have such great attention to detail and all the stuff, especially with the new redesign, like I said, I get why this won. But I honestly, it won to me, as much as I agree that this should have won because of the due to the circumstances, is because of the circumstances that it did win. And I think it's quite possible that other movies that were that could have been heavily promoted and marketed possibly could have won this as well. So, congratulations to Sega, because now we getting a sequel, much deserved, and is rumored to have Knuckles, and definitely it's going to have Tails, because Tails was at the very end of the movie as well. And I remember being in the theaters when Tails came out and saw how excited the kids were to see Tails come out, which really is more of a credit to the parents, because Sonic and Tails, the whole Sonic the Hedgehog series is really, it's like 20, 30 years old. And I know they haven't had that many Sonic games out. So the fact that the kids were really not only knew who Tails was, but excited. And that you heard them like, oh my God, it's Tails. And I was so enjoying seeing that. I'm like, great job, parents. Great job. So, I mean, that spoke volumes right there. So, congratulations to them. Best game, the biggest form of entertainment in 2020. Now, this is why I love the A.C.M.G. Facebook group itself, because there were a lot of great games, a ton of great games. A lot of them, when you talk about the Game Awards, Hades was one of the big highlights. Final Fantasy was one of the big highlights of the year when that came. But The Last of Us 2, arguably, so many, was one of the biggest highlights this year. I didn't play the game for whatever reason. I'm just not a fan of that type of survival type of game like that. But, it got a lot of praise from the media. Mixed reviews from a lot of the actual players itself. But, I think when it comes to narrative, that really played a factor. But, there was a lot of games that came out this year. One of the most anticipated games, two of the most anticipated games this year, I should say, actually got the win from our A.C.M.G. members. We got a tie, and I believe we get a tie every single year. There's always a tie. I think last year was a tie for anime, and I think Dragon Ball Super may have been one of the winners of last year, along with another anime that came out last year. So that was it. But this year, there's a tie in the game world, and I am extremely happy for the two games that got voted equally, because these two games are significant in their own right. Both of them provided a message, a statement made by Sony that needed to be heard. It was all about representation with these two games. It was all about acknowledging that we exist. And I say we, I mean my community, the Black community, and the LGBTQ community as well, and the Latino community. These two, like Sony legit set a statement and said that, look, we're not going to have it here. We're fighting for worth here. We're showing worth here. The first one that I'm going to mention is a game that was 23 years in the making. I was extremely excited and anticipating for this game when it came out. And this game came out at literally in the right time. It was one of the only games to come out that were able to come out during the beginning of COVID. They had to stop production because in factory, so digital was the only way you could play this game at the time. with only a few people getting the physical version. Final Fantasy VII Remake was one of the winners this year for a lot of reasons. We've waited forever for this. When it was announced when it was coming out 3 years ago, it was brought out to tears. Not only from myself, but from many people. There's YouTube clips of people crying at the announcement at E3 for this announcement. It's one of the best E3s in years. And we waited and wanted for this game to come out. This game also proves that patience is a virtue, because not only just we waited 23 years, but after the announcement, we had, I think, 2 or 3 more years to wait for this game. And Square Enix is known. I think there's going to be a time. There's a time that people always got mad at Square Enix for taking too long to come out with games. I think after this year, when it comes to games like Marvel Avengers and recently Cyberpunk 2077, which you could praise their PC release all you want. If this game is released for multiple platforms and it doesn't play fluently on multiple platforms, that is a fail. Which is why that game was not even added. Neither Marvel Avengers or Cyberpunk 2077 was even added to the list, and there was nobody arguing about that at all. Talk about no blowback. There was no blowback for either of those 2 games as far as anybody making a case for them to be in the voting at all. Nobody. So, but what you have here is one game that not only came out to great fan service, to insane amount of anticipation, but when it came out, it did not disappoint. They rewrote a totally, I want to say totally new, story, but they managed to just rewrite it to stretch out a little bit more. A minority of people didn't like the rewrite, but majority of people absolutely enjoyed this game, which is why it became, the role-playing game of the year. I think it was also nominated Game of the Year, and in my eyes, this game definitely was my game of the year. So I do agree with this, and what made it so great even more is the message that they had, which really heavily celebrated the LGBT community in so many ways. But not only that, it was one of the first games that I saw so much representation in the community. The NPCs that were in there, the non-playable characters, I should say, that were in Midgard or in other cities, Black, Latino, white, just everybody there. And let me tell you how much I appreciated that, because I played a lot of games. I played just as many games as all of you. I can't claim whether I play more or less, but I played a lot of games. And a lot of those open world games, you don't really see a lot of us even in the background. Not only did you see main characters like Barrett and other characters that were, people of color or whatever, that were, being focused on, whether it was main story or side story, but just all the non-playable characters in the community, which is there. And just a smorgasbord of different colors, races, flavors, whatever you want to call it, just living life and going through a lot of tragic period when you talking about going through the situation with the Shinra Corporation, which, by the way, also what was great about this game is that it was right on time, because the Shinra Corporation really did the Shinra Corporation was fantasy based on reality, and I'll just leave it at that. The music score of the game was so awesome that they sold it separately, and that I have the actual soundtrack myself, and it is one of the best soundtracks I've heard in years, instrumentals and stuff like that. And man, that one song that I've played over and over again that brought me tranquility and sanity and calm in an uncertain time. We needed this game, and we got it, and it did not disappoint. Not only that, but the Sephiroth battle, whew, my goodness. It didn't give us the entire series like it would the original. But it definitely gave us a fun, open-ended way, but also giving us a great payoff and something more to expect now, with the making of the second part of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I'm looking forward to it. And now it's going on to the PlayStation 5 era. So I can't wait to see how that's going to look and play on there and what you're going to be able to do for that second one. But well-deserved. Thank you to the A.C.M.G members for that one. The other one, do we really need a crystal ball to predict the obvious here? And dude, this one made me so emotional, and I've talked about this before. Spider-Man Miles Morales deservingly ties with Final Fantasy VII. A game that made us the hero. That the black and Latino community feel like we're so valued. And not only in terms of great gameplay, open world, experience, character design, costume design, story. I mean, the story just brought it home. The message here was that we matter, and it was subtle in the beginning, but it became more evident, and then at the very end, it hit you. That mural, that Black Lives Matter mural. I remember when I played it. I'll never forget this. I stopped everything that I did, and I could not stop crying because I've never played a game in all my years where it just showed, yes, you, the gamer, you in the black neighborhood, you from the black community, you, the African American, we love you. You can be a hero. We value you. The game was amazing. No pun intended. We got to hear Yuri Lowenthal reprise his role as Spider-Man, the Ben Reilly version of Spider-Man, as I call him. But, he got to reprise his role there, but they did a great job with that game. It is near and dear to my heart. The soundtrack, the story, the characters, everybody, it felt like we really matter. And, man. Thank you, Marvel. Thank you, Sony. Marvel always has been the forefront of equality and change. Shout out to, the one and only late, great Stan Lee, who's always been, in the forefront of equality and acceptance and stuff like that. And they just carried it on with this game. By the end, you felt proud. I mean, and it would even more, taking away all that. They really did make Crystal Dynamics look really bad because that game came out in November. Marvel Avengers came out in September, and they had a lot of problems. Miles Morales came out in November. I had a fluid gameplay, both on both the PlayStation 4 version and the PlayStation 5 version. Played them both. Absolutely great experiences. I love it. It's a great experience to have if you want to play a really great, game based on a comic book hero. The Spider-Man series is really doing it well, and it's setting the standards on how you should make a fun experience for fans that gives more than it takes. And thank goodness they didn't put any loot crates or anything stupid like they did or unethical like Marvel Avengers did. There's a minority of people that will try their best to or have some form of confirmation bias to try to defend what Crystal Dynamics have done. Nah, I'm sorry. Their methods sucked, and there's a reason why they didn't win. And people tried to. I've tried to give support to that game. It just didn't. It just didn't live up. It just really didn't live up. And Spider-Man Miles Morales lived up every bit of way that we wanted Marvel Avengers to do it. So I totally endorse and respect this as a tie this year for best game because they did. And I'm really surprised that we didn't get The Last of Us. Last of Us did not get a lot of votes this year, and I'm really surprised that. I don't know what that says as far as fan critiques as opposed to media critiques, but it is what it is. The votes have been set. So best streaming network, we talked about this. It's done a lot this year. But we had Netflix that was going in hard. We had Amazon Prime really stepped up this year because they were one of the first streaming networks to start, getting the rights to movies that were supposed to be in theaters. They had Borat, which I got to see. It was really funny. There was some other movies that they had, but their lineup has been really cool too, whether it was animated or, actual live action movies. So, and they've come a long way because there was a time where people would spend like $90 a year on Amazon Prime, but only, use it for the shipping. But now more and more great content has come on to that. Like the Adventures of the Marvelous Miss Maisel. Like I feel like she's a superhero character for me. Even though it's not based on any superhero characters, it's a great series. They have other really cool series that have it on there. The Boys is phenomenal. The Boys is just absolutely outstanding. So I can see why that was definitely added on. Then you got Netflix. You had the Umbrella season 2 of the Umbrella Corporation. You had new series that came out as well. Japan, Alice in Borderland just came out as well, and you got these other adaptions that have come out there. So they've coming out strong. You had just recently Sabrina, the Adventure, which by the way they really soft promoted because the biggest hype for Netflix on New Year's Day was in fact Cobra Kai season 3 for a obvious reason. An obvious reason. By the way, I didn't mention this before, but we're getting this week for Talk Time Live, we're getting like 3 shows because not only are you getting this show, but I'm going to do a separate show that is just only focusing on my review of Cobra Kai season 3, and we got to talk about that. That absolutely has to be talked about. So that came out too, but I did not know they really gave like the Adventures of Sabrina a soft promo. It came out the same day. I'm currently watching it now. Just as good, just as creepy, just as chaotic and demonistic as you could possibly get with that series. But there's, Netflix has got a lot of great series too. But you also have Retro Crush for anime, which is slowly getting in the ears of people. Retro Crush, if you don't know, Retro Crush is an anime streaming network that plays free anime series, like old OVA series of like classic anime that we grew up on in the 90s when anime started becoming a thing, when the term anime was adopted. Because in the 90s, there was 2 terms for this form of animation in Japan. It was Japanimation and anime. And it was going back and forth. Japanimation went out the door after a few years. And then people started adopting the term anime because it was a little bit more catchier. And out of respect, Japanimation sounds a little bit like we need to PC that a bit. But anime has become a thing. So Retro Crush is a network for those who are anime fans but aren't old school anime fans. You get to see all the shows that made us fans. And they have it all on air. So you could watch them for free with advertisements, or you could pay like $5.99 a month without the ads. Plus, you get other content that you don't get with the free version. So it's a great deal. There's a great old school, like Bubblegum Crisis and Violent Jack and all these really cool. Project Aiko is in there. Like a lot of great classic anime selections is in there. Flame of Recca is all in there. So that's slowly getting into the ears of otaku around social media. But you also got Funimation. Funimation also has been on there as well. You got Crunchyroll. You got all these forms of entertainment out right now. But among all those, the one that was voted overwhelmingly best streaming network was in fact Disney Plus this year. A lot of it has to do, I believe, with the large amount of library that they had since day one. That was ranging from Star Wars universe, that was ranging from Marvel, and it's just gotten better. They've organized the user interface in there for that you can find categorical now, especially with the Marvel universe. You can now watch it through each phase, and then followed by that, you can watch it in the exact timeline. Now, I don't agree with some of the order of that timeline, but they at least put in the effort to do it that way. And then you got Nat Geo as well. So in addition to that, plus and Pixar. And all the entire Disney library as well. HBO Max was also a heavy hitter this year too. I would be remiss if I didn't mention HBO Max. They've been hitting hard. They got The Watchmen that has been coming out. They have the Justice League that is coming out now. Now they're scheduled to have all these WB movies, which includes upcoming DC movies, which is also including the Suicide Squad. Then you got John Cena's separate series, Peacemaker, that's coming out, and then the Snyder Cut that is going to be coming out in a few months as well. Then you also had Wonder Woman 84. Whether you liked it or not, it was still a big deal. But the voters have made it Disney Plus as the best, and I think a lot of that has to do with not only all the content that I mentioned, but on top of that, The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian, I think, really, really set the standards because this sophomore year has been outstanding. And now, plus, we now have all the Marvel series and content that has come out. And all of the announcements that has been announced that is upcoming from both movies and Disney Plus in terms of Star Wars and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Phase 4 is looking extremely strong and has got people a hell of a lot more excited about what's to come. So I knew this was coming. I think, if anything, HBO Max possibly would have been the second because they've come strong. They know that Netflix has been considered the new HBO. So HBO had to show why they're HBO. And I think they've done a great job so far, especially when you talk about certain other shows like the Fresh Prince Reunion, which was really, really good, and other forms of movies that they got a hold of as well. So Matrix 4 is coming out. I mean, a lot of the announcements that they have for that, like I said, the new Mortal Kombat, I'm looking forward to that. So many good things that are all going to be at the comfort of your own home this year. So get ready for that. It's going to be an interesting 2021. Tell you that. But kudos to Disney Plus. I'm looking forward to it. WandaVision's coming out at the end of this month. Can't wait. It's going to be so awesome. So get ready for that as well. And we got our final category as we talk about Disney Plus, best live action TV series. Now, the question is why? The question isn't why did they vote for this winner. The question is, who is going to top this damn show? Because the A.C.M.G members once again overwhelmingly voted for The Mandalorian season 2. You had the show was already really, really great going in from the start and the finish with these great stories from these great directors, headed by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. But it was, I think, what really, really, spearheaded it was 2 episodes. One was the Dave Filoni directed and I believe written episode that introduced Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano, and people went ape. They went banana. They went crazy over not only her appearance, but the character itself coming in live action form with one of the most beloved actors in the scene. Rosario Dawson, I can't, to say that she killed it, nailed it, or knocked it out the park is an understatement. She became Ahsoka Tano, a much more experienced Jedi this time around. So this is years after the events of the Clone Wars, which, by the way, is absolutely connected to the animated movie. Like The Mandalorian, they decided that The Mandalorian, that was connected to Star Wars Clone Wars, which is connected to all the movies, which is connected to the comic book series. Everything is connected, or the graphic novels. Everything is connected. Like, whatever happens, the events that happens in the comic book is going to happen in The Mandalorian. Is going to be mentioned in The Mandalorian. The events that happens in the Clone Wars back and forth. All of it is connected. It's amazing. It is so. Still, I tell you what, it is the one thing that I can say that not even Marvel has done yet. And you know, they connected all the movies to the TV shows that they had, which was awesome. But they don't have the animated series connected together. Those are the things that they decided not to connect. There's what they did with Jon Favreau and the rest of those guys have done for the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a template of what a lot of other companies have tried to do. And no other company like DC or any other that's not true. Greg Berlanti and the CW have done a phenomenal job with the Arrowverse series, but their formula is clearly based on what the Marvel Cinematic Universe has done. So it's like, you know, when in Rome, do it, and you create your own success from that, and that's what they've done. But nobody, like DC Films, for some reason, which is separate and not connected to the Arrowverse, I don't understand why they don't want to, you know, pull the trigger on that one. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. They did finally do that in Crisis on Infinite Earth. So they're different universes, but they're still connected because of the multiverse. I get it. But I still say that they would have been more successful giving the Arrowverse the nod to do a actual live action motion picture and give them that experience, because Greg Berlanti and Berlanti Productions have done so great with that. DC Films, not so much. Not nearly as much on that note. But Jon Favreau is doing it again. And he's doing it with the Star Wars universe. He's done the same thing that he's done with the Star Wars universe as they did with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That episode connected everything together so fluidly and so greatly. It reinvigorated me as a Star Wars fan. And that's why I'm watching Clone Wars once again. And going into that and just trying to get through the slow pace season to get to the much anticipated seasons that everybody got so hot for. And not only that, you every week from that point, they were trying to top it. It was funny. It was really funny because they it reminded me of when Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. first came out, the first season. And it was very slow paced too. But it wasn't until the episode that tied in to Captain America: The Winter Soldier, when Hydra, you know, when it came to find out that, you know, members of Hydra was compromised within S.H.I.E.L.D. And it turned everything around for that show. And that show has been, every episode from that point has been great. And here you have Jon Favreau doing it again. Well, Josh Whedon actually deserves credit for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in that aspect. But this, you know, they're all in the same game. But the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're doing the same thing now, where you had this episode which kind of opened the doors for everything and opened the floodgates for everything. And every episode after that just get even better. And it's not to say that the episodes before that was better. They were great, but now just really it stepped up the level to a even exponential level. And then at the season finale, which, by the way, also included not only Gina Carano, legendary MMA fighter Gina Carano, but also one of the baddest women in wrestling in WWE, Sasha Banks. Like, I'm not a WWE fan anymore, but it doesn't mean I'm not a fan of the talent in WWE. Sasha Banks is that boss, legit. And I never thought in my life that I would see Sasha Banks in a Star Wars project. Not only just in there, but she gave a tornado DDT to, of all people, Boba Fett. Okay? And then on top of all that, we knew that a Jedi was coming. When Grogu, which, by the way, we finally got Baby Yoda's actual name in that Osaku Tano episode. Not only did we know that he let out a beacon for a Jedi to come, we were all wondering who that Jedi was going to be. And I'm like, you know, Disney and Marvel has not let us down in terms of getting us really big names and big payoffs. If you guys remember in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., at the end of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we got actually Nick Fury. We got Samuel L. Jackson, and I think 2 episodes. of Agents of Shield. Like, who'd have thought that we got Samuel L. Jackson in a live action TV series? They paid that man a lot of money to do that episode so he could connect to the actual show. I mean, to the actual movies. Unfreaking real. Okay? And I'm looking at this, I'm like, no, they couldn't. Could it be Mark Hamill? Could it be Luke Skywalker? Not only was it Luke Skywalker, it was the Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker. They totally did the CGI. I forgot what the technology, the term of the technology that they used to, do the Fountain of Youth effect to them. But we got Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi form, because if you guys don't know, I didn't know until somebody told me, The Mandalorian is based on the events after Return of the Jedi and before the new version where Rey and all the other characters come in. And man, that blew up the internet so big. I did the Wayne and Garth "We're Not Worthy" bow, and it was just awesome. You cannot top this season, and that is why I did not need a crystal ball to predict the obvious once again that The Mandalorian was going to win this. There was no way, and there was a lot of great. Like I said, the Umbrella Corporation was great. There's a lot of great. The Boys was really, really great. You can't top what The Mandalorian did. Jon Favreau, all the directors, Dave Filoni did absolutely phenomenal this year. And oh man, and Giancarlo Esposito as Moff Gideon. Can we talk about that? I mean, like, when is he not a good villain in any show? Like, if you saw what he did in School Days and then in Breaking Bad, you knew that it was going to be a no-brainer that he was going to be a great antagonist for this series. And I am looking forward to seeing what he's going to be doing in the next seasons and on from there. So, great job. I mean, if all else, you got to appreciate with all of these forms of fandom that we has done. I can't think any of the studios and all the hard work that anybody has ever done in 2020 has done, because they had a really, really huge task of trying to keep up the form of entertainment for us during these really crazy times. And I can't thank them enough. Which is why I was so appreciative to be a part of the Naruto panel, because this was during a time and most of the people who attended that virtual panel were my people, which I thought was awesome. And we were going through a lot when we seeing our people fall and die brutally and mentally. That really does something mentally, no matter what age you are. So to have these type of forms of entertainment in the gaming world and the anime world, in the movie world and the live act, like just ways to take us away from reality for a little bit while we're quarantined, while we're trying to keep safe and alive, for goodness sake. Thank you to everybody who put in that hard work. Thank you to everybody who's ever been on this show. Thank you to all of you out there who were supportive of everything that happened positive in 2020 in terms of our favorite fandoms. So we got through it. Let's have a better year. A better year of everything. A better year of anime. A better year of comics. Especially comics. Comics need to make a big comeback. We need something spicy for comics to make it come back in full force. I'm waiting for the 90s boom period for comics. Looking hopefully to see movies again in theaters and enjoy it with everybody and enjoy a great time. Hopefully, when Black Widow comes out later on this year, we'll all hopefully be almost back in order. I'm really hoping for it, because we need our comic conventions back. We need our theaters back. We need it all back. But in order to do that, folks, it can't just happen. It can't just, magically happen. We have to make it happen. And in order to do that, we need to work together to make sure that we're doing the right things to make it happen. That means putting away your entitlement, your spoiledness. We need to take all of that away. We need to be responsible. We need to be, heroes in some cases. And to be a hero, you have to do the right thing. So let's do it. Let's just do it. Folks, that will do it for this special edition episode of Talk Time Live. Thank you guys so very much. As I said, I'm going to be doing triple duty this week because the next episode I'm going to be doing is a Talk Time Live Prime episode as we review season 3 of Cobra Kai, which will probably happen tomorrow, Tuesday, or whatever. But man, do we got a lot to talk about with that season. I binged through it. I've been through all, 8 or 10 episodes of that, and I'll just leave it at that. So, not only are we going to do review Cobra Kai Season 3, the much-anticipated Cobra Kai Season 3, I am also finally going to review Cobra Kai, the video game. I've been playing that. I've played that for a long time ago, and, dude, yeah, there's a lot to talk about with that game too. So our first Select Start episode of 2021 this week will be the review of that, plus whatever news that we get from there. So thank you everybody who is giving me the opportunity to be a voice, to be the voice for our community, whether it's the Black community, whether it's the gaming community, whether it's the otaku community, the comic community, whatever. Thank you to everybody. Once again, thank you to all our guests. I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to be coming this year, seeing what I'm going to be able to do this year. I don't care about topping it off. I just care about being able to have an experience, just learning, just enjoying, and all the guests that has come by, and all the people who just enjoy this show. So let's see what 2021 brings us. God willing, we will keep this going and keep it growing, and hopefully that you will do also. Please let everybody know about this show. Let them know where you can find it. You can go out of your way and find it on a plethora of different formats, such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Podbean, TuneIn, aka Amazon Music, and Audible, I believe, as well as Pandora, as well as Pocket Cast. There's not a one place that you can't find A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the podcast. So, thank you. And of course, last but not least, TalkTimeLive.com, where you'll always get all the updated episodes, previous episodes, and a place to check out the exclusive episodes, especially on the exclusive page. So, check it out, and you get the chance to listen to all of your favorite actors, comic book writers, artists, everybody in here. Just this is the place to be. You know what I mean? So definitely go out of your way to check it out there. Thank you guys so very much. And that will do it for this episode. So on behalf of myself, this is Dax Xavier Josiah saying, learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live. I am out of here. Happy New Year, and let's make it happen. Take care. Music for this episode is provided by Game Chops. Check out these great chiptune tracks and more at music.gamechops.com.